Good morning, Gathering Place. So glad to have you with us this morning from your homes. Just let everything go this morning and let's just worship. Just stand in your living rooms. Just do whatever you feel you need to do. And let's just worship our Jesus together this morning. Let the King of my heart be the mountain where I run, the fountain I drink from. Oh, he is my song. Let the King of my heart be the shadow where I hide, the ransom for my life. Oh, he is my song. 'Cause you are good, good. Oh, you are good, good. Oh, you are good, good. Oh, you are good, so good. Let the King of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. Oh, he is my song. Let the King of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, he is my song. Sing it again. Let the King of my heart be the find inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. Oh, he is my song. Let the King of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, he is my song. 'Cause you are good, good. Oh, you are good, so good. Oh, you are good, good. Oh, you are good, so good. You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let me down. Sing it out. You're never gonna let me down. And you're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let me down. the mountains where you hide. Oh, how far I'd scale the valleys if you grace the other side. Oh, how long have I chased rivers from lovely seas to where they rise against the rush of grace descending from the source of its supply. 'Cause in the highlands and the heartache, you're neither more or less inclined. Oh, I would search and stop at nothing. You're just not that hard to find. I will praise you on the mountain. I will praise you in the mountains in my way. You're the summit where my feet are. So I will praise you in the valleys all the same. No less God within the shadows, no less faithful when perfect peace. Yeah. And you know everything, yeah, you listen to my anxious thoughts with compassion, and one by one they fall into perfect peace. So I will be still. Oh, I will be still and know that you are God. So I will be still. Oh, I will be still and know that you are God. And every wall I face, every giant, every lasting chain, every lion, one by one they fall into perfect peace. So I will be still. Oh, I will be still and know that you are God. Oh, I will be still. Oh, I will be still and know that you are God. If you are with me, what can overwhelm me? You render silent all of my worry. If you are with me, what can overwhelm me? You and the war, and you set my heart free. If you are with me, what can overwhelm me? You render silent all of my worry. If you are with me, what can overwhelm me? You win the war and you set my heart free. You set my heart free. Yeah. You set my heart free. Yeah. You set my heart free from all anxiety. Oh, you set my heart free. You set my heart free. Oh, you cover my family. You put my heart at ease. If I will be still, if I can quiet my heart, if I can still my mind, then you can speak, you can speak. You can speak peace. You can calm me down. You can calm me down. You put everything right, Lord. You put everything right. You'll make everything right. Whoa, so I will be still. Yes, I will be still. Yes, I will be still.
Hey, good morning, church. We really miss being with you. I'm Pastor James. My wife and I, Amy, miss being together. You know, we are called Gathering Place, but what we're all dealing with right now is we're not able to do that. So we're so glad you're tuning in. Amy and I have been tuning with our family on a Sunday mornings and just continuing worship and hearing a great message. So we really miss you guys. I want to thank you guys also for your generosity and your financial support for our church. It makes a huge difference. And we know that soon we'll get together, be in person. But until then, just know as a staff, as pastors, we're praying for you. And we know we'll see you guys soon.
Good morning. Thank you, James, for coming in to take a little bit of time to greet the people. I want you to know that it really has been difficult for us as pastors. One of the things about pastors, their very nature, their very heart, is to be with the people. I have talked to many pastoral friends of mine who are maybe more on the formal education, theological side, and much of their week is spent preparing sermons as opposed to being with the people, whereas I tend to be more on that relational side. And there's not a right, wrong. It's just different personality and different styles. And even my ones who are normally hours spent studying have struggled with not being with people at all. So know that it's our desire, it's our heart, it's our passion to be with you. And we're looking forward to a time when we can be with you again. So if you're feeling lonely today, if you're feeling isolated, if you're feeling separated from people, know that you're not far from our hearts. And again, as I said in my weekly email, which if you're not on that, you can go to our website at the bottom of the first page and you can sign up to be on that email list. But as I said in the email this week, if you need prayer, even if you just need a voice to remind you that you're valued and loved, shoot me a text, send me an email, give me a call. I would love just to remind you, you're valued, you matter, you're loved. Today we're going to continue our series. I call it Life Happens. Last Sunday, I started and we talked about the rhythms of life. And today I'm going to talk about the passage of life. And last Sunday evening, I was on a Zoom call with our youth group, our weekly Zooth group call. And I checked in with nearly 20 of our youth. And we just began to talk. And I was talking about what's been a struggle. How are you doing? We started with the how are you doing check-in. Then what's been a struggle through this process? But also, what have you learned through this process? Because I believe this time when we're home, this time when we're separated, can teach us a lot about ourselves. And some of them talked about, oh, I learned this in a class, or I've been reading this. But some of them talked about things they learned about themselves. I think understanding and knowing who we are is really good for us. So what are we learning about ourselves? And then finally, I asked, what are you missing? What are you most missing? And the first couple of people really didn't have anything. Oh, I don't know. I guess just my friends. But then we started to get a little more real and people said, I'm missing the fact that I won't have a graduation this year. I'm missing the fact that my birthday is while we're on lockdown. Happy birthday, Eliana, by the way. Literally, her birthday is tomorrow and she's on lockdown. So it wasn't in my notes. I just wanted to make sure I said that. But we're missing graduations. We're missing birthdays. We're missing parties. Somebody talked about how they were really looking forward to their prom. We're missing dances. We're missing celebrations. What we're missing is those things that make life matter. We're missing those things. And yes, it's true. We have our basic necessities met. These aren't kids who are going without food, and we're blessed. And as a church, you guys have been overly generous, and we've been able to, even just the past 2 weeks, we've provided meals through our church, food boxes to 100 people, 100 families. I don't know how many people actually, but 100 families in the past 2 to 3 weeks. We're at 147 boxes of food distributed since this began. We've been able to give diapers. You guys have, because of your generosity and contributions, we've been able to give away diapers. So needs are being met, and yet it feels like we're missing out on life. I heard it said once that life is the memories that we make and the experiences that we've encountered. Life is our memories and our experiences. And that's what we're missing out on right now. So it feels like time is passing, but nothing's changing. I'm not making new memories. And we're going to look back on this someday and talk to our children or our grandchildren or however long. We may talk about this for the next 100 years. This may be a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic. It's been 100 years since we've seen a global pandemic like this. This is an experience, but it's not the type where we necessarily make those good memories. But I want to talk a little bit about that. That when we're missing out on this because of the passage of life. So today's message is about the fact that God cares about your life. You matter to him. Too oftentimes we think, well, I'm insignificant. I'm just one person. I'm just here by myself in this small place, in this small town, in this small part of the world. But you matter to God. He looks down and he sees you. He knows you. Your daily life matters to him. A few verses that we have that we're going to look at today. Philippians 4:6 says, "Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God." God cares about your concerns. He says, don't be anxious. Let me know what's going on. Too oftentimes we believe because we're in the midst of crisis, I've got to get myself out of this crisis. I've got to deal with this. But God sees you and he says, don't be anxious, but let your requests be made known to me. What's weighing you down during this crisis? What is it that's heavy on you? God's looking and saying, bring it to me. Don't carry it alone. Don't do this by yourself. Let me be there for you. He can handle your worst. When you wake up and you go, God, where are you in this? He can handle it. God can handle you questioning him. God can handle you being angry at him. God can handle your doubt. He can handle your sin. He can handle your failure. He can handle you feeling frustrated or angry. I've talked many times about the feelings wheel. I have this little wheel and it has 32 emotions, 32 feelings. Because a lot of times we say, I feel hungry. Actually, hunger isn't a feeling. It really isn't. Hunger is not, because feelings are emotions. But I feel frustrated or I feel exuberant. I feel excited or I feel sad. Those are genuine feelings. And God can handle your feelings. And he says, bring those to me. Don't be anxious, but bring those to me. Bring those to me. Today, I want to encourage you as we're stuck and we can't even get out to see friends and family. Bring those things to God. Let him know what you're feeling. It's not that he doesn't know. It's that when we learn to express those things to God, we can feel his presence in a real and a genuine way. Number two, God cares about your desires. Like I said, kids were sad about missing graduations and birthdays and parties and dances, and I empathized with them. Each of those things are significant events, and I am so proud of our students for being real because most people will never be real in that setting. Most people put on the good face and go, no, I'm doing great. Or they sit and they whine and they complain. There wasn't one complaint, just a recognition of what they're missing. It was a beautiful time actually with them. I got off and the Zoom call, and I just had this sadness for them, like this sense of loss for our kids that are missing out on things. And I know that people have said, oh, let's do the big quarantine graduation or the Zoom call celebrations, and those are great, but it's not the same. And I wanted to empathize and not just tell them, well, we'll make it up later, but say, hey, I understand. But you know what? Psalm 37:4 tells us this, delight yourself also in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. So much of the time, we deny that we desire anything deep in our heart. We get so clouded and jaded and so believing that the world is always bad that we forget it's okay to have dreams and hopes and visions and things we want for ourselves. It's okay to have these desires. He repeats this multiple times in Psalms that he wants to give you the desires of your heart. He is passionate to see you fulfilled. He created you. He didn't create you to abandon you. He created you to become something greater than what you could know, greater than what you are, greater than what you've experienced. He wants you to become everything He created you to become. He wants to give you the desires of your heart. He's put those things deep within you. And those are things that He desires to give you. The picture I have is He's like a proud parent. He wants to tell everybody how great you are. He wants to hang your artwork on His refrigerator. He wants to tell people, this is my child, and look what my child did. How many of you as a proud parent have put a bumper sticker on your car bragging about your kids' GPA or honor roll or sport that they play or band that they're in? We put stickers on our car to show our accomplishments, but also proud parent of a Western Washington University grad. Proud parent of a UW kid. We're proud of them for what they've done. And God's looking down. He's going, I love you so much, and I want to give you the desires of your heart. The third thing that I think is true about this is that God cares about what matters to us. Psalm 50 verse 15 tells us this. Call upon me in the day of trouble. I will deliver you, and you shall glorify me. What a beautiful thing. You glorify me. You bring me glory when you allow me to help you. In our darkest hour, in our deepest sickness, in our loneliest moments, in our worst sin, He looks and He goes, call upon me in the day of trouble. He's giving you permission that even in your moment of doubt to call on Him. Even in your moment of fear to call on Him. Even when you're at your worst to call on Him. He doesn't say, get yourself cleaned up, get your act together, and then once you've done that, you can call on me. No, He says in your hour of trouble, call on me. Friends, I want to tell you today, call on God. He's looking at you and He's saying, call on me. I'm here for you. He's not mad when we fail. He's reaching out and saying, call on me. So why is this so difficult for us to believe? Why can't we believe that God takes pride in us, that God wants to have a relationship, that God wants us to tell Him what's going on, that God wants to call us to call on Him? Why? Here's 3 reasons this is difficult for us. Number 1, control. We want to remain in control, and if I say I'm dependent on God, if I reach out to God, if I call on God, that means I'm not really in control. I'm not as good as I want to pretend I am. Number 2, the unknown. We have to learn to trust in God. 1 Peter 5:7, look it up. We need to learn to trust in God. We have to. That we cannot predict the future. We cannot know what's going to happen next. And because we don't know what's going to happen next, we tend to not want to trust God to see us through it. The third thing is, it's difficult for us to believe this because life may change. I'm here today to tell you, life will change. After this is over, life won't be the same. Will we learn a new normal? Yes. Will we learn new rhythms? Yes. I believe good things may come out of this. I believe people are going to understand and appreciate what it means to experience Sabbath, what it means to experience rest. I believe that people will come out of this with new skills and new talents. I believe people will come out of this with maybe a greater desire and understanding of what I mean when I say we can't know God outside of community. Doesn't mean we can't be Christians. It means we need each other to experience the beauty of who God is together. Going to church does not make you a Christian, and not going to church does not mean you are not. But I do believe that God called us together, that He says, don't forsake the gathering together of the believers. The very way we got our name, Gathering Place, is the idea that we're supposed to gather together. Different ideas, different ideologies, different opinions, different political bents, different sports teams that we choose to root for. I don't know why you wouldn't root for the same teams as me. Go Packers. But nonetheless, people don't. But we're still called to gather together. We're called to be in unity and in family. Life is about growth and change. And when things change, they grow. But also, that growth forces change. That butterfly has to go, the caterpillar has to go into a cocoon in order for the butterfly to come out and emerge. That wheat has to go in the ground, come up, die, split open in order to come up and to produce what we need in order for it to be a functional grain so we can get flour. Things have to change. But here are some of the positives of the passages of life. Number one, your faith can be stretched and exercised and worked out. How many of you have wondered, what's it going to take for my faith to grow? Growth of faith takes challenging your preconceived ideas and notions. Number two, you can identify your priorities. You can also possibly realign them. How many of you have maybe recognized you didn't necessarily have your priorities in order? Because I've said many times, our priorities need to be the big things first and the other things go second. How many marriages have grown stagnant because you didn't put time or effort or energy into them? How many relationships with friends do you not even speak with anymore? Not because you had a big falling out, but because you don't prioritize them. You didn't reach out to them. You didn't care about them. The third thing that is a positive of a passage of life is clarity of vision for your own life. What you truly believe is what will be lived out through this. We'll discover that relationships matter. One of my hopes through all of this is that you're going to discover I need to be in community with people. I need to be in community with people. I miss being with you. I've told you before that Sundays are a time that the biggest reason it matters is because we gather together to be together. Not the message, not the worship, not those other things. It's what happens as we sit and have a cup of coffee with a friend or as you pray with somebody that's sitting next to you in a seat. That when we're doing that life together, that's why Sundays matter, because it calls us around this common purpose. The clarity of life that I want you to understand is that your church family needs to have a place. Some weeks you may need them, but other weeks we desperately need you because we need you to love the people on your left and the right. We need you to welcome in the stranger. We need you to be a participant in what we're doing to try to reach our community, to try to shape the values of what we believe, to try to show love to those who need to feel loved. We need you here. A fourth positive is we really can learn from past mistakes. Passage of life allows us to look back at what we've done and look forward to what we desire to do. We are more than our worst day. You are bigger than or better than your worst mistake. That God saw you in that moment and He looks and He says, you're not just what you've done, you're who you are becoming. Are there sometimes consequences for our actions? Absolutely. And sometimes we have to pay those consequences for the rest of our life. But God looks at you and says, you're more than your worst mistake. There is hope for you. There is something for you. So finally, as I close today, I wrote out a little statement that I actually want to read. And I read this because otherwise sometimes I get a little emotional. This was actually originally 2 pages, and I cut it down to a paragraph because I knew that the message would already be long. But this is it. It's been 7 years since I showed up as a pastor here. There's been things I've done well and things I've struggled at. Some of you have believed in me. Some of you have wondered, why? Why is this guy here? But at the end of the day, I want to say thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance to learn and grow and discover. A lot has changed in life over these past 7 years. We've had people leave our church and people that were part of our church move away. We've had friends that were critical to who we were die in the past 7 years. Some of you have different jobs. We've all grown a little older and hopefully a little wiser. Most of us have grown a little grayer and a little fatter. We've moved to a new location from where I started. We've had new families come and join us, and we've had families grow because they had babies. So thanks for contributing to our attendance increase. Those of you who have had babies in the last 7 years, we needed them. We've celebrated marriages and graduations. We've mourned losses. We were blessed to encounter God do the miraculous among us. So thanks for joining me on this journey. Thanks for joining me as we become Gathering Place. I look forward to the future, and though it's unknown, there is still so much God desires to do. It's my hope that when this pandemic is over and we can be back together again, you will find a new passion, a new drive, and a new vision to be a part of what we're doing here at Gathering Place. God is so good and God is so faithful to us through so many things. So thank you for giving me a chance. Thank you for being part of the family. And it's my hope that you've been blessed and challenged, encouraged, loved, inspired, and that you've learned and grown through our 7 years together. Thanks so much. Have a great week. God bless. Hey, I know it's already been a long service today, but there is something that I've done every year since I've been here. From my very first Sunday, and then every year on the anniversary is I've done the same song. And this song was chosen not by accident, but because I really believe it's a description of my life and trying to follow God. And so literally just a couple hours ago, I asked Dylan if he would be willing to do this song since we hadn't planned it. So if you've had enough church today and want to tune out, that's okay. But if you're sticking around, you might as well hear one more song and know that I hope that it speaks to you and that you hear where my heart's coming from. Again, thank you for allowing me to be your pastor for 7 years. It's truly been a pleasure and an honor. Have a great day.
Grace run now if I let you down, 'cause all I know is how to run. I am a sinner. It's not one thing, it's another. Caught up in worse, tangled in lies. You are a savior, and you take brokenness aside and make it beautiful, beautiful. Will you call me child? I tell you lies, 'cause all I know is how to cry. I am a sinner. If it's not one thing, it's another. Caught up tangled in lies. You are a savior, and you take brokenness aside and make it beautiful, beautiful. I am a sinner. If it's not one thing, it's another. Caught up in words, tangled in lies. You make him beautiful. 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 I am a sinner. If it's not one thing, it's another. Caught up in words, tangled in lies. Oh, you are a savior, and you take brokenness aside and make it beautiful, beautiful. I am a sinner. If it's not one thing, it's another. Caught up in words, tangled in lies. Oh Lord, you are a savior, and you take brokenness aside and make it beautiful, beautiful. Oh, you make it beautiful.